India has secured progress on agendas of significant interest to it since assuming the G20 presidency on December 1st last year. Many of the scheduled 200 meetings have already taken place, where ensuring global economic growth has been one of the key focus areas for G20 members, who represent more than 80% of world GDP, 75% of international trade, and 60% of the world's population. The G20 is a strategic multilateral platform connecting the world's major developed and emerging economies. Under India's presidency, the third meeting of the G20 Finance Ministers and Central Bank Governors, or FMCBG, concluded on July 18th in Gandhinagar. The outcome document and chair summary saw member countries agreeing on almost all items, including a common framework for global debt, strengthening multilateral development banks, and swift implementation of the crypto asset reporting framework. On the issue of global debt vulnerabilities, all member countries stood by the commitments made in the common framework for debt treatments. The G20 members also endorsed the reports by the Financial Stability Board and the Bank of International Settlements on cryptocurrencies.
In the Gandhinagar finance track, there are three key issues that were taken up. So when it comes to crypto, there seems to be a firm endorsement by the members, because the word used is endorse, so which is a stronger word to say that members agree to what is being proposed. But on the flip side, India wanted that issues like curbing terror finance and other similar issues needs to be taken up, but those issues were ignored, and India feels that when a joint report is submitted by a synthesis report, in fact submitted by both IMF and FSB, before the leaders meet in September, then the issues of its interest will also be taken up in that report. So the second point is which India wants to vigorously pursue is the digital public infrastructure, where it seems India thinks that it has championed the cause, and it has in fact a lot to show in terms of UPI and Aadhaar and other things. But here, though there is an endorsement, it seems it has been made voluntary. What India actually wants is that DPI should be made interoperable. So that kind of endorsement hasn't come from the members. The third thing which was taken up is the reforms of the multilateral development banks, MDBs. So there, the report submitted by N.K. Singh and Larry Summers was taken up, but it was only taken note of. There is no endorsement from members. If you look at it from the other angle, then maybe a conclusion couldn't be reached on the issue during India's G20 presidency.
Before this, in June, the G20 Development Ministers meeting in Varanasi led to two major outcomes. The first was an action plan to expedite progress on sustainable development goals, and the other was on sustainable development lifestyles. With both being unanimously endorsed by the group, Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar had called it the biggest achievement under India's presidency at that time. However, one international issue has become a hurdle for India. The Gandhinagar G20 FMCBG meeting ended without a joint communique due to differences over references to the Ukraine war. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said the lack of common language on the Russia-Ukraine war was behind the absence of a communique, which is considered a stronger statement of intent than an outcome document and chair summary. The June G20 Development Ministers meeting also had to make do with an outcome document and chair's summary, with prospects of a joint communique being scuttled by objections raised by Russia and China to paragraphs related to Ukraine. Before that, the G20 Foreign and Finance Ministers meetings had concluded similarly. India's G20 Sherpa Amitabh Kant has told Reuters that brokering peace between Ukraine and Russia is beyond the G20's remit. Meanwhile, some Western countries have refused to sign off on an eventual G20 communique if Russia's invasion of Ukraine is not denounced in the same words as the leaders' declaration after the last G20 summit. This could pose a challenge for India when it hosts the G20 Heads of State and Government Summit in New Delhi in September. This will be the culmination of all the G20 processes and meetings held throughout the year and will witness the adoption of a G20 leaders' declaration. Against this backdrop, can India iron out the Ukraine wrinkle?
Ukraine has become a particularly contentious issue on the global scenario. Therefore, to expect that all countries would come together and in a very major important meeting like the G20 be one on that particular subject is difficult to expect. However, if there is anyone which can do it, it's of course us, because we have friendships on all sides and others also have a vested interest in us. There's no doubt about that at all. But it's a tall order. The G20, which is not a de jure forum, but which is a forum which brings the world's largest economies together, is a place to get the minds together on specific subjects, one after the other, and then take them to the place where there's de jure action and then get that thing forward.
Building a consensus between the Western Bloc and China and Russia on Ukraine may prove to be a bridge too far at the September New Delhi G20 summit. Still, the real gains from the G20 could prove to be the broad meeting of minds on the key issues being championed by India, like climate change finance and regulation of crypto assets, which can then be taken forward at relevant forums that have de jure power in those matters.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.
She has ambitions of becoming a brand. Business Standard.